All right, guys. Welcome back in to Two Baptist and a Mormon Walk into a Pentecostal church at the illustrious Three Strand Studio.
Hey, listen, I brought this up off air, and I'm just, here we go, this bantering thing. So, like, we're in here at the table, and it's wonderful, but our wives are out there at the pool.
They're
so
at
I
the
have
pool.
a suggestion. One time we kick them out of the pool, we take
100%.
this outside.
We could get a float, like get some waterproof stuff going on.
Sophie had that. She got that float thing we blew up today that they played like
Oh,
the spike ball on.
Spike
We
ball
could
in
just
the
set
pool.
that on the.
We could just put it right up there.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Let's do it.
I'm here for it.
We're off to a great start at this point.
We are. We are.
We're off to a great start.
This is how it goes, buddy. So the voice you just heard is our special guest that we alluded to from the last episode. Welcome in, Mr.
Let's make them guess.
Oh, make them guess?
Oh, yeah.
How would they guess? We wouldn't know.
Oh, that's the fun.
It's
Could it be from the voice? His voice?
The voice.
oh,
from...
wait, you could maybe tell from his
From
voice.
the voice? Yeah, maybe.
Oh.
I don't know.
So we have in house the country soul preacher, Mr. Grant Bias. Welcome in, Grant.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so this is episode 34, and we had Robbie on a few weeks ago and shared his story, and we just decided, you know what, let's ask Grant to come in and kind of share his story, a little bit of his story, and felt like today was a good day. It's a beautiful Sunday, and said, why not? So
Sun is shining.
sun's shining.
He was coming over. You owe him dinner anyway, right?
That's right, yeah.
He doesn't know me anything, first of all.
But
Brian's
see,
a good dude.
I like how my man rolls. He brings the party.
That's
And
right.
when we say party, he brings the Waterloos with a good flavor.
That's
The good
right.
flavors,
That's
not the
right.
We
crappy
ain't talking
flavors.
that cheapy flavor.
No, it's the good stuff.
Good Waterloo.
Seasonal.
That's right.
Waterloo.
Seasonal
Come prepared.
No, that's awesome. So I'll give you guys some backstory. Grant and Carly have been coming to Restoring Hope for a year now.
I think it's
Is it
almost
longer?
2 years.
Is it 2
now.
years?
Yeah, almost
Wow.
2 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Time flies when you're having fun.
absolutely.
So yeah, we got the privilege to meet Grant and Carly when they started coming, and in the past 6-7 months, I don't know, gotten to be good friends with you guys, and so I love you, love your heart, and love what the Lord's doing in your life, and just wanted to kind of jump in and hear your story. So yeah, start as far back as you want to start. Like, tell us who you are and bring us up to to the voice. Then we'll jump into that.
Well, I am a preacher's kid. And I'll
Preacher's
start off
kid.
with that.
Little PK.
Yep, little PK. My dad's been doing it for 45 years now, and got some older parents, 66 and 67 years old, and they've been doing it their whole life.
That's
and
awesome.
So that's kind of just how I grew up. Man.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up a preacher's kid, a worship pastor's kid, and so grew up in church my whole life, and we were Pentecostal growing up.
Yeah,
Not United Pentecostal, but Assemblies of God. There is a difference.
there he is.
But I love them both.
Oneness and Trinity, right?
That's right. That's right. And so grew up doing that, and my mom and dad sat me down. Well, actually, it wasn't my mom. My mom didn't have anything to do with this, but my dad sat my brother, and I'm a twin brother. He sat us both down when I was 4 years old, and he said, I don't care what you want to be in life, from a ballerina to a football player. I don't care. He's like, but you're going to play the drums, and you're going to play the bass. So that's what I did. I started off playing drums, and my brother played the bass, and my mom's a fantastic pianist, and
I can
my
attest she is.
Dad's a great guitar player and singer, and so
Yeah.
that's what we did. We traveled around, and we sang, and we played, and also played on Sunday mornings, so we knew every Saturday night that's where we needed to be. 8 o'clock. There was no dating throughout high school on Saturday nights. If you wanted to do anything.
You got to be home in bed.
Exactly.
Early. Yeah.
On Friday night, you'd have to do it, because Saturday night we knew we'd be in the living room, and we had an electronic drum set in there, and not a big house or anything like that, but man, we knew that we were going to get after it at 8 o'clock and,
That's
and
awesome.
wake up at 6 o'clock the next morning and get after it on Sunday morning. So that's how I grew up, and then, went off to college and really started pursuing singing, as I guess you could say a career.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a worship pastor, and so that's what I went to school for, University of Mobile, Alabama, School of the Arts down there. And so studied music for 3 years and actually traveled in on vocal ensemble for 3 years.
Nice.
And Roger Breland is a great, I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a fan. He led Truth back in the day, and the group
that's
Truth.
how I know that name.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's
Truth.
a absolutely fantastic leader, and learned a lot
Truth.
from him, and learned how to really sing,
That's
and
all.
so it was great. It's a lot like Voices of Lee, if you've ever heard of them.
Yep.
In Cleveland, Tennessee. So kind of a similar deal there. But studied that for 3 years and then got a record deal here in Nashville and decided to drop out. So go college dropouts. Yes.
So
Yes.
Grant and I have something in common. I got
Okay,
I
come
got
on.
3.5 years of music education under
see,
my
you're
belt,
beyond
buddy.
me, man.
You got 3.5, and then I dropped out.
I don't boast education at all. I'm about as dumb as a box of rocks. I'm lucky I can sing, man. And,
That's amazing.
And even that's a stretch. So, but yeah, I went there for 3 years and decided to move to Nashville and had a record deal with Red Street Records and Jay DeMarcus here in town, who was a part of the Rascal Flats. And you know, it had its challenges, but I think I learned a lot. you know, while I did that, and kind of just showed me that this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't know in what capacity. So, and I'm still learning that,
Right.
you know, and deciding and kind of figuring out what God wants me to do. But I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
That's awesome.
And so, anyways, we're chasing that. And the record deal didn't necessarily work out, got shelved like a lot of other Nashville artists do here in town. And I had a publishing deal. So during my time with that, I did happen to write a song called First Things First.
Yep.
And
Phenomenal song, by the way.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I love
Thank
it.
you. And, you know, that song didn't hear the light of day for 2 years. And
You know, talk
one
about
day-
that for a second, because people don't,
Yeah.
I don't think, realize that from a songwriting perspective. You know, I think oftentimes we hear a song and we're like, oh man, they wrote that song, and you know, Garth Brooks picked it up next Tuesday and now
Yeah.
it's a famous song. And that's not the case, right? I mean, there are songs that literally sit
Absolutely
on the
not.
shelf for decades.
Absolutely.
So-
And that was one of those tunes that, you know, we never thought. We left the room that day thinking nobody else would ever hear it again. And we knew that it was, you know, it had potential.
Yeah.
I guess you could put it that way. But we never thought that it would kind of take the scale that it did. And
Was it Finding Favor that recorded that? I don't remember.
Consumed by Fire?
Consumed by Fire,
And they were
okay.
a breakout artist of the year, so nobody had even heard of them.
Yeah.
And that was their first single that kind of put them on the map. And originally, I was in a boy band called Jawbone Honey.
Oh,
Signed with
Jawbone
that.
Honey.
Jawbone
Okay.
Honey.
Talking about Samson.
that's
I'm tracking,
yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
like that. No, that's
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and it was actually with two guys that were at Lee University, and Jake Hess and Jordan Guyton. I don't know if you guys know them, but
Mhm.
they're
Old Trip.
old Trip. You know Trip.
I know
Yep,
Trip.
yep,
I knew
yep.
Trip when he was a baby.
Come on, come
Yeah,
on.
that's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, Trip's a good dude.
Yeah, man.
And,
another phenomenal songwriter.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And he's got his own credits and things that he's doing now.
Yeah.
That's really fantastic. But wrote the song with him and then two members of Consumed by Fire. And while they were just getting started out, and one day we walked into the office and I'd made a demo for the song, and I love to produce and do stuff on my own time. And anyways, I brought it in, and one of the executives there was like, well, we've already got another group that recorded the song. You know, the two guys that you wrote it with, well, they actually already cut it. And we were like, what? Because we were kind of promised the song. But God had other plans for it, man. And, you know, there's no telling what would have happened had we recorded the song. May not
Because
have done
it
as
became a number one, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
May not have done as well. I have no idea.
Yeah.
You know, just have to trust that God had the right plan for it at the right
Got
time.
to let
and
things happen first things first.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
I mean, it's kind of interesting that you say that, because that kind of goes back to our last episode a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know what I mean? I mean, in essence, I mean that, like, because you had a different idea of what the song was going to be, and then you found out somebody else cut it, and then
Yeah.
like, daggum, I
Your
thought
plans
we-
weren't his plans.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
your plans weren't his plans.
Not
and
even
then,
close.
Man, that's cool.
Yeah.
But it was a great experience, like I said, you know, and I learned a lot from it. And even to this day, it's gotten me into rooms that I never thought that I'd be able to get into.
Sure.
And it's a great reminder that we have to keep the first thing first.
Yeah.
And keep him first. And, you know, I think it's easy in this business to stray away from that and to try to chase after things that we think will get us to number one.
Right.
That will get us to the first thing. But truthfully, the first thing needs to remain first, and that's him.
Amen.
And so, anywho, going back to the deal here, we thought, you know, the executive told us, hey, another artist had cut the song, and so they took it and ran off with it, and it's been a great thing for us, you know, even Trip and myself included. And Jordan's doing great now. He leads at First Baptist Atlanta, so he's doing a great job there.
Awesome.
And great church there. Been there many times, and So it's just been fantastic.
That's awesome. So
That's
so
cool.
before we dive into the voice questions and that season of your life, this is a question I want to ask because I think our podcast is called Two Baptists and a Mormon Walk into a Pentecostal Church, right?
I love
Because
it.
John and I grew up very Baptist, Jeremy grew up very Mormon, and now we're all in a Pentecostal church, right?
Wow. Fantastic.
And so we constantly kind of debate and dissect, all the different aspects of the Baptist faith and the Pentecostal faith, and not as much the Mormon faith because Jeremy's not a Mormon anymore, and that's a kind of a different.
Well, you're not Baptist anymore.
Right, but it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different, right? It's a little bit different. I don't got special underwear or nothing. So.
I don't either.
Are you sure?
Yeah, well, I mean, I do have some that I think are special, but so you grew up in a Pentecostal church. My question is this: I'm assuming you grew up around the gifts, but do you remember a specific time that the gifts became real to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a church camp in 2016 that I vividly remember.
Tell me.
And receiving the gifts of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And with the evidence of speaking in tongues.
Yeah,
And, I think, so I went to a Baptist college.
Mhm.
I grew up Pentecostal, went to a Southern Baptist college.
Yep.
So for me, I got to see the two different sides of things.
Yeah.
And 2016 was before I attended the Baptist college. And so I'm actually glad that happened. I'm glad that I had that experience so that I could know going into it
right.
my relationship with the Lord and my relationship with the Holy Spirit. And, I learned a lot while I was at that. Here's the interesting thing, and you could probably speak on, all of you guys could speak on this, but the Baptists are very fundamentally sound when it comes to Scripture.
Right.
And I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
The Pentecostals, and I love them,
Right.
they're not.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
I love them. I will back them all day long. But there's a lot of times, there's a lot of Pentecostal churches that I've been into that are not fundamentally sound when it comes to Scripture. They're more based on emotion, and they're more based on the feeling that you get. But I think when you pair the two together,
Yep.
you get something really special.
Yeah.
And, I like I said, I think you just get something really special. And I don't want to talk out of turn here. I don't want to say anything that would offend anybody, but,
That's
I
right,
think
I already have.
that's okay. All right. Okay, good.
We're quite
Then I'm in the right
offensive.
place.
Yeah.
But I think you just find something really special. And I think that there's a God that's bigger than denomination.
Yes.
Yeah.
So to that point, okay, so Tara grew up charismatic, swinging from the rafters Pentecostal.
Come on.
I grew up staunch, hardcore Baptist.
Uh-huh.
And when we got married, we didn't think that mattered until it mattered.
Right.
Right.
Mm.
But with that, because I was like dogmatic. I was like, we're not raising our kid in a Pentecostal church with them crazy people. We're not blah, blah, blah. But through that, we were going to Long Hollow for a long time. And Tara said even in that moment, it was some of the best times in her Christian life is because she then, what your point is, she then learned the word
Mm-hmm.
a lot more.
Come on.
And then, which helped her understand the rest of it.
Come on.
It took me a minute to then be able to, because I had the head knowledge,
Right.
with that dogmatic that you're talking about, man,
Yeah.
had it down,
Yeah.
but through a lens of what I wanted it to be and not the fullness therein.
Absolutely.
Right.
There's a difference in the mental and the physical. Sorry to interrupt you, but I think that when you, like I said, when you put the two together,
Bingo.
when you put the mental with the physical, when the physical acts represent what you think and what you feel inside,
Yes, sir.
not only here, but here, something special happens. Sorry to interrupt
No,
you.
no, please interrupt. We do that quite often.
That's how this
Come on.
works.
Right.
Come
Yeah,
on.
It's just jump.
No, that's it, man. And that's the whole point. Like my son, he was raised mostly in the Pentecostal church, but then he went to a Catholic high school and then a Wesleyan college.
My goodness.
But the good thing about all that is it helped him grow more in his faith because then he learned what he learned to be gospel for himself.
There you go.
It wasn't based on mom and dad's belief. It wasn't based on anything because when he was in the high school, of a Catholic high school, he's having to take Catholic class, Bible class, all 4
Absolutely.
years. He had to attend Mass, and then he had to find out for himself why he believed what he believed,
Right.
which has now turned him into the man at 22 that he is and growing more because he knows what he believes and why he believes it,
Come on.
not because he was told to believe a certain way.
And isn't
Right.
that what we're called to do?
Come
Right.
on,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. That's what we're called to do as believers. And, I know that you mentioned earlier that I was on The Voice. I had an experience while I was on The Voice that really made me, I had to decide what I believed and why I believed it. And I had to live that out.
And I want to, before we go anywhere else, I want to be clear. You and I have never one time talked about you being on The Voice.
Absolutely not.
We've not had a single
No, it's the first
conversation
time.
about it. So that's why I wanted to preface that, because I feel part of the whole reason I wanted to talk through this is because our podcast 2 weeks ago was called The Sacred versus the Secular, and how we, as Americans especially, we divide that, right?
Absolutely.
We're Sunday Christians, and we're Monday through Friday at our workplace, and Saturday we're partiers maybe, and then Sunday we're back to being a Christian.
Yeah.
And I think that probably is personified much more in Hollywood. And so I'm glad you kind of teed that up. But I did want to say before we get to that point that we've never had that conversation. So
absolutely not.
Okay. So I wanted to throw that out there. So, and again, before we move into that, tell me about getting married. Tell me about Carly and how that started, because it started before you went to The Voice, right?
Absolutely. So leaving off from what we were just talking about, I had that record deal and publishing deal.
Yep.
Got shelved. Wasn't a great experience, to be honest with you.
Sure.
But I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And, I learned what was important.
Yeah.
And God put it on my heart that I wanted to get married, and I wanted to get married to the right person. I'd just come through a failed engagement, which was really, really tough for me. Just a really tough experience. But I will say that even through that, I learned what I wanted and learned what I needed to have.
Yeah.
And so Carly, we met when we were 15 years old. My dad, like I said, has been worship pastor for his entire life. Her dad is now an overseer for the Church of God in Oklahoma. So we auditioned at a church there to be the worship pastor in Cleveland, Tennessee, at South Cleveland Church of God. And
Church of
God. See, you all get that reference. That's what's funny about it.
Of course.
That's what's hilarious. And everybody talks like that. I don't know why, but that's I guess it just means more.
They don't order that like that at McDonald's. They just talk about it like that from the pulpit.
No, of course not. Of course not.
I'm sorry. I probably just stepped in it.
Be good, Brian. No, I'm kidding. But no, we auditioned at the church to be the worship pastor, and found out that he was actually going to be moving off to Mississippi to be the overseer. And so we were like, well, we want to work for you. We don't want to work for some blow Joe that comes in here that we don't know, And so anyways, we decided to stay where we were at there in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, which is where I grew up. And I'm an Arkansas boy through and through. Go Razorbacks, woo pig suey. Don't care what you have to say about it. Okay?
Love it.
Unashamed.
That's right.
I respect that.
Absolutely.
Oh,
if you're a Razorback fan, it just means you're loyal. And I told my wife that too. I said, look, I've been rooting for this sports team for so long. If you ever have a question about my loyalty, just look at how I root for the Razorback.
I'm a lifer, baby.
That's right. It's been tough. But anywho, so we met them back when we were 15 years old, and so we kind of stayed connected through social media and things like that. And she found out that I'd gotten a record deal and decided to message me, which was pretty interesting. I'll just put it that way.
Was she a diesel sniffer?
I mean, it could, it made me question.
That's why John married Tara. I mean, he was, a big Crab Family fan.
We're going to leave that there.
No, that was me. That's right. Yeah.
Wait, you didn't marry Tara?
Oh, no. I didn't marry Tara.
I was waiting on you to say something.
Way too much fun.
I think I'll leave that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I was a big fan.
Yeah.
Of Tara's.
There
and
you
everybody's.
go. Yeah. There you go.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Sorry.
Bye.
Oh no, you're good.
We're back
That's
on track.
awesome. Yeah, we're tracking now.
No,
and you'll have to forgive me. I have
See, here's another problem. We jump off in the ditch quite often.
Look, man, I have severe ADHD diagnosed since I've been 8 years old. Okay,
we hit the rumble sticks often.
There we go. There we go. So I'm known to go off track, man. It's a known thing for me. Luckily, they didn't let me speak a lot on The Voice, or I'd got myself in trouble quite a bit. But, anywho, back on track here. And so anyway, she'd messaged me, I think when I was 21 or 22 years old, and we'd kind of kept up through communication. She'd taken a job in Dallas, Texas. My wife is a beast, y'all, and I can't talk about her good enough. I mean, I don't know if that's proper English, but I can't talk about her, I can't. I really can't. Like, she really impresses me every day with her work ethic and how she's able to communicate with people, and really inspires me to do my best and each and every day. And I think that you have to have somebody like that in your life. And, so anyway, she's a huge inspiration for me, and I'll try not to talk about her too much, but it's easy for me to do. And
you got enough brownie points there on that one already.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I just have to have her listen to this back, But anyway, so we kept up with, communication and things like that through social media. She was in Texas. I was in Rome, Georgia at the time with my parents. My parents are worship pastors at North Rome Church of God in Rome, Georgia there. And so anyways, I was living with them back at the time because I told God, I was like, man, I can't do this anymore. I've made over 50 songs, I think, and turned them in, and nothing had struck gold as far as the record deal is concerned. And so it just felt like nothing was moving. And I'm not a person that likes to necessarily stay in a rut or stay in a ditch for a long period of time. I like to, if something's not working right, let's figure out something else, and let's figure out what does work. And and at that time, nothing was going. And so I moved back in with them, and I'm just so grateful that they let me do that, because I'd moved out on my own for a couple of years now. And, my parents are just the most loving people, man. They accepted me back with open arms, which I'm sure most parents, would, which is really, really cool. And moved back in with them and told them about this girl, and they said, well, we like her. We do. We like her. And so became a worship pastor for a year in Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia.
Fort Oglethorpe,
Okay.
yeah.
And we call it Fort O if you live locally. And so that was a Church of God church there. And that was an interesting experience.
Well, this was pre-marriage?
This was pre-marriage.
Okay.
But I knew she was in Cleveland, Tennessee, so that's probably 30, 45 minutes away from where she lived in Cleveland. And which, like I said, at the time she was in Dallas, but her dad said, hey, why don't you come on back home? And we'd kind of gotten serious at that point. And she decided to move back to Cleveland, found a great job working with a senior assisted living center. And like I said, she's great communicating with people and that sort of deal. So she had a great job, and I took the job as a worship pastor, and we were looking at getting married and everything like that. And so was a worship pastor for about 4 months, and then we decided to get married. I mean, it was like no time at all, man.
When you know.
That's right. And I'd gone through that, really tough experience with my engagement and everything like that. And she'd just come off of a really tough experience with her previous boyfriend. And so we kind of just knew that it was time and that it was the right thing. And so got married, and we stayed at the church for about a year after that. And she dared me to go on The Voice and send in an online audition. So that's what I did. I was like, you're crazy. We're not going to hear anything back. Like this, nothing's going to happen. But we sent in an audition there from our town home there in Chattanooga.
What song did you sing on the audition?
They had me do 3 songs. So I did one by Jimmy Allen. I don't know if you know who he is. He's an African-American country artist, really fantastic. We did Freedom is a Highway, and then we did Mud on the Tires by Brad Paisley, which is a good one. And then I can't remember what the other song was, to be honest with you. But
How Great Thou Art.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Something, I think it did have, some spiritual aspect to it. I think it was actually Where I Find God by Larry Fleet.
Oh,
and, I wanted that to be a big part of, if I was going to make it on the show, I wanted it to be for me being myself and not me trying to fit a mold of something that I wasn't, just to try to make it on a show. And so anyways, got an email back a couple minutes after I sent that in and said that they wanted to keep going through the round of process and all this stuff. And that took about a year long of just doing these psychology tests. And I mean, I'm talking about like psych tests that are over 1,000 questions.
Joining the CIA?
I know. That's what it's what it felt like. I was like, man, I'm not FBI here, dude. I'm just trying to get to sing a song.
I'm a singer-songwriter. I don't know. I'm not.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing this.
No, not at all. But it took about a year in length, and just singing different songs for them. And whenever they called, like, you had to be ready to just hop on a Zoom right there and do it. Yeah, it was actually, I mean, it's pretty wild not even seeing them in person, not meeting anybody in person, just doing it over Zoom and just kind of hoping for the best. So,
did you feel like you're getting strung along?
I think at times, just because you're uncertain of what the process is and what it takes in order to be on the show. Like, I had no idea. I just thought, just like everybody else, you maybe send in a video and then it's like, hey, we want you to come, audition for the show. It's like, no. Like, we got to make sure you're not a crazy nut job before we get you on our show, man. And there were some crazy nut jobs.
I mean, Todd Tillman won one time, so I'm just saying, let some people
Todd's
through.
my boy, man. I love Todd, and he is a nut job.
In a good way.
Yeah, in a good way.
Shout out, Todd. We love you.
Yeah, we love Todd. But anyways, it took and he was actually one of the people that I referred to. I was like, hey, man, is this normal? You know, like, am I supposed to be waiting this long, or, what's going on here? And he's like, absolutely, that's normal. He's like, if you're at this point, that's a good sign. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
So took it as a good sign and just kept going through with it, and was still the worship pastor at the church at the time. And so,
were they supportive of you doing this, or did they know?
They didn't really know.
Yeah.
Because and also I didn't know. I didn't know what the time commitment would be. I didn't want to, let them in on any information, because I didn't want them to start assuming things.
Yeah.
If I could do it and still be a worship pastor, that would have been great for me. I would have been totally fine with that. But, the time commitment just, it didn't allow for me to keep my job. So I quit my job and flew out to LA with no idea of what was going to happen after that, and I'm married. This is our first year of marriage, and they're telling me I have to be gone for 6 months. I'm freshly married, man. Like, this is, ridiculous. You're telling me I got to be gone for 6 months, and it's my first year of marriage. So yeah, it was really tough, man.
So in the time that you're gone for that, I mean, are you making any income from the show?
So they do pay you,
Okay.
but only when the show actually rolls around, when you film for it. But there's a month of time where you're not doing anything. I mean, you're practicing that one song that you've been given to audition for, and there's people that are getting cut, I mean, every week, because sometimes they have behavioral issues. Somebody found out that this guy was taking too many shots at the bar, and so they sent him home. And there's one person that ran down the hallways praising the Lord, but they thought he was a nut job. And they sent him home.
That's how you got kicked off?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I did it from my hotel room. I didn't do it, running up and down the hallway. But
we're striking the quad.
Yeah. But it's absolutely nuts,
Attaboy,
man.
Blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, after that and the whole show experience was fantastic. And looking back on it, I'm glad that I'm doing what I'm doing now, and it helped me get to where I'm at today.
So take us to the main audition night, because I'm curious, what that feels like when you're auditioning, not only for being on camera, right, but for the chair turn and all that kind of stuff. Like, walk us through that just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. There's 5 days of auditions. So they have, I'm not sure how many artists. I think we had 150 artists that were slated to get an audition, but not everybody got one, because when the teams fill up, I think there's 52 slots. So when the teams fill up, that's it. You're sent home after that. So I auditioned on the 4th day, and by that time I'm already stressed, man, because 3 days had gone by and I hadn't gotten even an audition. And so I'm like, man, I may not even get to sing. I've done all this work. I've been out here for over a month, and I may not even be able to sing. And I did God's Country by Blake Shelton, which I did pick that song. I know there's a lot of people out there that, didn't get to pick their song. They put songs out there, but I call myself a strategist in a sense. I figured, Blake Shelton's no longer on the show. And so anything that can kind of bring his legacy back into the first season without him
Yeah.
would probably be a good idea. And, so anyways, it wasn't my favorite tune in the world, just to be honest with you.
Sure.
But I thought it may do well for publicity and things like that. So decided to do the tune. And I think, like I said, on the fourth day, they called me at like 7 a.m. They were like, hey, get here. We're going to, have a van pick you up, and we're going to get you in makeup and all this stuff and your outfit and get you ready to go. So I think at like noon that day is when my actual audition was filmed. And so did the tune, walked out there, and I don't know what I was expecting, but it was dead silent. There was nobody saying anything. And, there's only like 250 people. When you watch it online, it looks like, man, there's probably over 1,000 or something in the room. No, it's like 250 people, somewhere around in there. And they're all around the stage, and it was dead silent when I walked out. They called my name, and I walked up to the stage and was like, I can't believe this is happening right now, dude. Like, I'm just losing my mind. And you see the chairs, and they've all got their names on them, Gwen, Niall, Reba, and John. And I was just like, okay, let's do it. Lord, and I was praying the whole way up there, man. I was like, if it's meant to be, you'll let it happen. And got 2 chair turns. Gwen and Reba both turned for me, and decided to go with Gwen just because of the tune. Like I said, I had a strategy going into it, and I wanted to do a Blake song. That way, if I got on Gwen's team, that I'd be one of the few country artists, as opposed to being on Reba's team, who had already 10 already.
Setting yourself up as a teacher's pet.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All day long.
Yep. Absolutely, man. And I think she was blown away, and I still talk to Gwen, man. That's what's crazy about Gwen, is like, people can say what they want to about her, but she really is just a genuine person. Yeah. And I did not expect, even this long after being off the show, for her to still want to communicate with me, but she still checks in on me and wonders how I'm doing. And yeah, it's a pretty cool feeling.
That's awesome.
So anyways, yeah, the day of was pretty nuts, man. Got the 2 chair turn, had my wife and my mom there sitting off to the side, and so it was crazy. Came off stage, and she walked me over to him and met him, and it was nuts.
That's crazy. So in that environment and being there for a month, and then this happening, and even moving forward, did you find that there were a lot of people of faith there?
I did.
Yeah.
And I think to what extent is important.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people definitely claimed that they had faith and that they believed in that, but there wasn't a lot of people that showed it.
Yeah, not a lot of fruit.
Yeah, and I think that when you're in a situation like that, you're super vulnerable. I mean, you're putting yourself out there for 10 million people to see that you can't see behind a camera lens.
Yeah.
And so I think that what is pressed comes out.
Yep.
And you've always heard that, but when you're in a situation like that, there's no choice.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is left up to producers and directors and people of that nature. And so whatever's inside of you is going to come out.
Yeah.
And
because they're filming everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There is, just like this, man, there's no cuts, there's no edits.
That's right.
They pick and choose what they want people to hear. And so whatever you say is up to them. They can use it at any time.
Yeah.
They'll craft that storyline.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To craft that story, whatever they want you to be.
Yeah.
And that's what's important, I think, to say here, is that they can paint that picture however they want to.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So it's up to you to give them the material to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And if you give them material that's not fruitful, that's not pleasing to God, that's not showing of that character, then they're going to use that if they feel like that's what they need to do in order to get the ratings and get the views. So, yeah, it was super important to see who had the fruit, like you said, and who didn't. And I think associate yourself with those people.
So did the show, based on your history and past, give you the moniker Country Soul Preacher, or where did that come from?
That came from Gwen herself. Okay. Well, I think we were in a rehearsal for the battle rounds, and she was just like, "You're just this country soul preacher. Like, I don't know how else to do." And I wasn't trying to be. I mean, that's what's so funny about it, is I didn't have that at all, but I grew up listening to the Crabs. I grew up listening to all that Southern gospel stuff, man. And grew up Pentecostal, so it's not something I could really help, you know? And it's kind of just what came out. And I think that she noticed, and she said, there's just something about you. I can't put my finger on it. I can't really figure it out. But you're kind of like a country soul preacher. And I said, well, you know, I can't help it, I guess, is all I said to her. I can't help it.
You know what's really cool to hear that is I'm listening to you, and full disclosure, this is the first time I'm hearing all this. I told you before we started, the cool thing is I know nothing about you. I know nothing about the voice, and this is my first time hearing it.
That's awesome.
But like what you said, I think is so important, is that when you're pressed, what's inside of you comes out. You know, I'm thinking to your story, I'm thinking about back to like American Idol this year. Yeah. You know, the one gentleman was singing and the one judge, I can't remember her name, Lord forgive me, she's famous and stuff, but whatever. Not Carrie Underwood, but she was one of the original judges.
Paula Abdul.
Paula Abdul.
Yep.
Gentleman was up there singing, Jordan, I think was his name. She was like, I don't know what I just felt, but something, I feel something when you sing. And I can't describe it. And Carrie Underwood, God bless her, looked over and she said, that's called the Holy Spirit.
Come on. Come on.
And I was like, mic drop, because but like your story with Gwen, she felt something. And see, that goes right back to the point, because I have worked my whole career in the music business. I've been a bus driver. So I've been the one drive. I've been one of the behind the scenes and seeing it in every aspect of it, good, bad, not what's on stage. I've been seeing the real life.
Right.
And what I found out, to exactly what you're saying, is to be truth. What's inside of you comes out, because see, the cliche is everybody, I'm a believer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. But when you're pressed, it comes out. So what's awesome to hear is that when you were pressed in the times of nervousness and the times of waiting and the times of all that, and you're just up there cutting your gig, you're singing whatever song you're going to sing, but what's inside of you is even coming out, whether it's gospel or not.
Come on.
Yep. Which goes to prove the fact that you don't need to take a family-sized Bible and beat people over the head.
Absolutely.
You just need to live the life that God has given you and the opportunities, and then what's in comes out, and people are like, what is that?
Yeah.
What do you mean? What is that? It's just me. I mean, I'm a country boy. That's just what it is. But there's something different that's on you. Man, I just fired. Like, I got
watch out.
And so
I mean, that's got me like.
And so when you squeeze,
that's the first time ever.
When you squeeze a lemon, you get the juice, right?
Yeah.
But there's something else in there.
Yeah.
And you know what that is? It's a seed.
Okay.
Come
on, son.
So sometimes it's not only the juice that comes out. It's not only the skin that you get. It's the seed that you're planting in people's life, and you don't have to beat them over the
get
head,
the offering
man.
plate.
Well, and that's
the truth.
Look, man, this is what you live by, you know. And like you said, you don't have to beat people over the head in order to give them a seed. As a matter of fact, a seed can move a mountain.
And you know what? Sometimes the castaway seed. Oh,
come on, man!
Listen, I'm getting
come
jacked.
on.
He's gonna go write a song about the castaway
is the
seed.
Fact
now.
that the castaway seed, our garden right now, we have 2 cucumber plants growing, and you know what? I didn't plant them; they were They were planted last year, but something died out there, and it's come back to life in the spring.
Come on.
Of a seed that died that I didn't even know was planted in the ground. And I have 2 plants coming up that are castaway seeds.
Come on.
That are now blooming to the glory of God that I didn't even know was there.
Come on.
Which is like man, sorry, jacked up party of one.
Well, and it isn't until it sees the sun that it can grow.
Yeah.
Hey.
That's the truth. And how many seeds were planted to 10 million viewers that watched that season of The Voice?
You have no idea.
You have no idea.
I have
and
no
never
idea.
will this side of heaven.
No.
That's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
Like, not to get down a rabbit trail, but in seriousness, can you imagine the moment we step into heaven? Because I mean, aside from being in the presence of God, but can you imagine just the multitudes of people that are going to be touched?
Yeah.
That you go, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was this, and this led to this.
People that in your situation you've never met.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
That you've never actually stood face to face to, but you've had an opportunity now for that seed to be planted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, people want to go back to like the Billy Graham I mean, listen, Billy Graham, the soul winning is unmatched, right?
Mm.
But the millions of people that watched on the live TV that never got to see him personally, and the fruit that was there, right? But it isn't always just about the preaching of the word. It's about living the word.
Absolutely.
Living the word day by day and what you're doing,
Yeah.
in the Monday through Saturday. Living the word and what's coming out in that seat. Man, that was good.
So when she dubbed you the country soul preacher, did that feel like a gift to you, or did that feel like extreme pressure?
I think it felt like a gift, but I think both. To be honest with you, I think that among my constituents, among the people that I was hanging around every day, it did feel like pressure.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you mess up one time or whatever, I'm not perfect, and I'll be the first one to tell you, man, I'm not. But, that comes along with people having a bird's eye view of you. And so, yeah, it felt like pressure, but it also felt like a gift. It felt like I had my niche, if you will, or that I had my lane. And I think that, especially on the show, everybody's got it strategically. Now, I'm talking just business and all that, but you've got to have your lane, or they're not going to want anything to do with you because you don't have your own. If you're just like so-and-so, it doesn't matter. They've already got one of them.
Got him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that kind of set me apart in the sense. And I think that everybody else had their own lane, but nobody had the country soul preacher.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of set me. So to answer your question, I think both.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. So take us to the moment that you alluded to earlier, the moment where you said you felt like there was, something that did you feel like it was going to shift the trajectory of your faith, or like what?
I thought that are you just saying after giving, having that title or being given that title?
No. I'm saying earlier when we started, you said there was a moment in the show.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I actually wound up doing Where I Find God on the show in the playoff round. And that I feel like, and you can ask other people, I think that was my moment to kind of definitely set myself apart from the rest of not only the contestants, but just set myself apart from the world. And, I'd already done a Jelly Roll song, which I think Jelly Roll has done a lot for the kingdom. And regardless of how a lot of people feel, of how he lives his personal life, the same could be said for Kanye West. And I think that both of them have led a lot to the Lord and at least shine light on that. And so, but this for me was a moment where I could see myself as an artist doing what I do and still representing the Lord in the country music scene. Mm-hmm. And I think I'd been trying to figure that out for 3 performances up until that point. I was very blessed to pick all of my songs on the show. There wasn't one that I hadn't picked. And I know for a lot of people that didn't happen. Whether they gave a bad song to the producers and the producers were like, hey, let's do this instead. I see you doing this. I was lucky to not be in that boat. And I think I picked songs for me that helped that vision, and helped that for my career. And so I'd say the playoff round, Where I Find God, is definitely where I was able to establish, hey, faith is a big part of my life. It's what I want to represent as a country artist, but I think that you can be a country artist and not just have to sing about faith all the time too.
Yeah.
I think you can have a good time and still have a good time in the Lord, man. I think that's all right, know. And growing up Pentecostal, man, we had a good time in the Lord every Sunday. It wasn't anything new for me. So, yeah, I think that was a defining moment.
I love it. I think any time that you're on a stage that millions of people see, there's obviously pressure and there's so many things. But was there a moment on the show that really challenged your faith and tested who you were?
Yeah, I would say the battle rounds for sure.
Yeah.
That singing that Jelly Roll song, not that I think it's a bad song or whatever, but my parents growing up full-blown Pentecostal and hearing the lyrics, they were like, no way, Jose.
Yeah.
Like, this is not flying with us. And I was like, man, I don't know what I can't do anything about that. Like, they picked the song and there's nothing I can do. Like, I have to go out there and do it and just see, if God blesses it or if he doesn't bless it and sends me home. Like, that's fine. I'm fine either way, but I want to give it my best effort. And my battle partner, Jackie Rohr, I mean, she's a vocal beast, dude. I mean, she is really incredible. But I think that we have two different perspectives on life, and that's okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The world is made up of tons of different people, but it was a big test for my faith, for sure. When you're practicing, and in my situation, I was a married man practicing in a practice room with a female for several hours a day, and my wife had no idea, and so that can also put a test to your marriage and what that looks like. And so, yeah, I think that was the biggest test for me.
Yeah.
And once I got past that, I was like, if it's meant to be, so I can do anything at this point.
Yeah.
Any test that comes is not going to be as hard as what I had to endure.
And there is, I don't want to glaze over this fact. When you're singing, it's it's emotional, right?
Yeah.
And when you're singing with somebody who's a good singer of the opposite sex, there's an emotional connection that happens. And I'm not talking about like a sexual or spiritual or anything else, but there's a connection that happens. So there's a guard your heart moment.
Absolutely.
In those times, right?
Absolutely.
The last question I want to ask about the voice, and then I have a few other questions I want to ask you aside from that. But if you could go back today and to the night before this all started on The Voice and tell yourself one thing, what would that one thing be before you started that process?
That God's got you, man. And whether this works out or not, He's still got a great plan for you.
Amen.
And that song that had gone number one before my audition had even been filmed. And so I think that for me, I just put so much weight into the audition of I'd quit my job. I'd gone out there, like I said, first year of marriage, I had no idea what was going to happen after that. And so I think I would just go back and tell him, God's got you, man.
Yeah.
And He's got you in the palm of His hand. He's got you right where He wants you. And let that be okay.
Yeah.
That's a whole other side that I'm still working on, even to this day.
Every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every day.
Every day, man.
That's awesome. All right. So now, is there anything else you want to talk about with The Voice?
Not unless you've got other questions.
No,
for me.
that's all.
I could keep talking all day, man. So you just have to shut me up.
I do, just simply because, like I said, I don't know.
Please.
Where'd you end up? How did you
semi-finalist on the show.
Semi-finalist.
Yep.
Man, that's awesome.
I appreciate it. It was a good ride.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I was the last artist on Gwen's team, and in the semifinal round, I was the only artist on her team, so I thought that maybe that might push me through to the final so that they'd have everybody, every coach, every coach represented. But that wasn't the case, and that's okay. I realized, like I said, that's all part of God's plan,
that's
man.
Right.
He's got me.
I love it.
He's got me.
So I want to fast forward. So you released a very personal song last year. Talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah, released a song called Wednesday, and when I was 16 years old, and this is something that I didn't get to talk about while I was on the show. So I had a lot that was representative of me, but I also had a lot that I didn't feel like they wanted to use, or it wouldn't help paint the picture for what they were wanting. And that's a lot of the reason why I released this song. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that struggle with suicidal thoughts and tendencies and things like that. And so I wanted to give those people a safe space.
Yeah.
And so I released a song called Wednesday, and it basically, I wrote it with a guy from Songhouse Company, which is here in town in Nashville, and they've got several million followers on socials and things like that. But he's a fantastic writer, older gentleman named Dennis Cook. Shout out to Dennis if you're listening to this. But we wrote the song together in my upstairs room there at the house, and he'd had a similar experience, so I don't mind sharing this. And I think that it was very interesting to get two people who had similar experiences to write such a special song and such an intimate song, because unless you've lived it, you can't write the song.
Right.
And that's what makes it really, really special. But I decided to write the song. My parents had no idea. I never told them that had even happened or that I'd ever had those thoughts. But, the song just basically says, on a Wednesday, I went into my parents' bedroom, and this was after a really tough breakup that I had, and I thought, as a 16-year-old does, that the world was ending.
Sure.
And that, life was over. I had no other way to see around it. And I had some tough discussions with my parents, and, they were like, basically, you're crazy for breaking up with this girl. Like, you're nuts. And that was tough to hear, because I thought of my parents as the most important people in my life, and still are other than my wife, but I think a lot of what they have to say, and it means a lot to me. And so to hear those words, at one point they'd even said like, hey, we're going to ship you off to army camp. And, because we really think that something's wrong with something needs to be beat inside your head. And that was tough to hear, man.
Sure.
Really tough to hear. As a 16-year-old, you don't know what's right. And I mean, you know what's right and what's wrong. But when it comes to this is a new experience. This is something you never experienced before.
Yeah.
A serious relationship like that. So when your parents tell you this, it's like, man, something must be really wrong with me. And the only solution that I'd had at the time was to go into my parents' bedroom, pull out the Smith & Wesson from my dad's sock drawer, and end it.
Yeah.
And at the bridge of the song, you hear why I didn't do that. And the only reason I didn't do it is because I had pictured, as I had the gun to my, in my hand and gun to my head, the only thing that I pictured was them driving. They had a garage with a see-through door, and it was a glass door. And I just pictured them driving up and seeing me laying on the floor with blood splattered on the wall and his gun on the floor. And that was the only thing that stopped me from doing it. Because I couldn't, even though all that stuff had been said, I couldn't bring myself to make that moment happen because I knew how it would make them feel. And that was a tough moment. And it was a tough moment to sing about. It was a tough moment to talk about. And it's a tough moment to even revisit now. But I know it's important.
Well, and it's letting people into such a personal, intimate moment. It is tough.
Yeah.
And kudos for sharing it, because I think it's a prevalent problem. And I do think it's a problem that is much more prevalent than it was when we were growing up, right? Like suicide was a thing, but not like it is today. And I think it's because the pressures of society and the pressures of social media and all these things, people have this idea of, the perfect life or how my relationship should be at 16 or whatever that is. So kudos for being willing to not only write that, but to share it. So
and people need to hear that, though.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, because there's a lot of people who have experienced that same thing that don't feel they have a voice and nobody understands.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
A lot of people out there who feel that way. And if just a song.
Right.
Just a song that somebody can just be flipping through the radio, or now, iTunes, you're playing your music and all of a sudden the song just pops on you never heard before and it just wrecks you. You know what I mean? Which is so important but yet so hard because you're giving people a glimpse inside of the quote unquote dark side.
Right.
You're not supposed to feel that way. You grew up in the Pentecostal church. Your parents were pastors.
You're not allowed to show it.
You're not supposed to have done that. No, that's not how this works.
Right.
But life is life.
Right.
Life isn't full of roses. Life isn't always. There's going to be, as we've talked about, trials and tests and things, and you are still human.
Right.
You are still flesh, you're still bones, you are still, things still happen. It doesn't matter if you, like me, I was raised 9 months before I was born, I was in church, what I mean? Like always, and that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And there may be people in the church, well, not maybe, there are people in the church who have suffered the same thing, but they suffer in silence.
Yeah.
I say the church is often like the movie Frozen: conceal, don't feel, don't let them in.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's what we do. We can't let anybody see or feel the real. So I love that you did that. So a few months back, we got to go hear Grant at the Bluebird. And it was phenomenal. I love songwriters rounds when you hear people talk about why they wrote the song and where it came from. And so it was just a really cool experience. The last thing I want to talk about as we land the plane is, so you have started this little series with your mom and dad.
Yeah.
Which is great, by the way.
Thank
I
you.
found that and watching that.
Let's go.
Word, that's awesome.
It's so
Let's
cool.
go.
I love it. So talk to us about that just a little bit.
Man, I think it's so funny. And I've kind of, the first couple years that I came off The Voice, I think that, Nashville tells you what you have to be in order to succeed.
Right.
And the labels tell you how, what you have to be in order to get your first big hit and all this stuff. And so I think I was doing a lot of stuff that just wasn't me in order to get noticed. And it's cool now because God's kind of stripped away. He's made my circle so small, man. And I think it was so necessary for me in order to do that. But what's so cool about it is now I get to be myself, and I get to show people what I was raised up in, and let them know that having a family and a good family dynamic's okay. That's tough in today's society, man. A lot of people have tough family situations, and they don't have the capability of having a good family dynamic. So when they see videos like this, it inspires them that, hey, maybe I need to call my mom. Maybe I need to call my dad and just see how everything's going. Check in, And I think that's what the meaning is of these videos in the first place. That's what the heart is behind it, And yes, like, we love music. We all love music. My mom's amazing, man, at playing the piano, and dad's great on the guitar and all this stuff. But I think that you're also just spreading a hidden message. You're spreading a message that isn't talked about or said in the caption,
Well, and the beautiful thing to me is when I watch you guys do that, it feels very much like what we do at this podcast. We're just having fun. Like, we don't necessarily have an agenda. We're not trying to do anything to please anybody.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is with your parents. I think that's probably what life is like for you when you're there.
Absolutely.
Like, even if the camera's not on, your mom probably's going to go, oh, and she's going to play something, and y'all are going to sing. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And it's funny because the Lord just reminded me of this. I don't even know when this was. I don't often remember words that I feel like the Lord gives me to give to people, but I remember one time speaking over you, Clark Kent and Superman, and
I remember
that there was a facade that the Lord was taking off.
Absolutely.
I do remember that now.
I remember it was a prophecy that you gave me. I came down to the altar and you said, the Lord had told you that it's, you yourself, Grant Bias, is Superman. You are good enough. And that's what I think. I took that away, and I'm sorry, just knocked your china over. This very nice china that you have. But you just said, you're good enough.
Yeah.
And God says that you're good enough. And there's no type of facade that you have to put on to try to be somebody that you're not, And I took that personally, man. I took that, and I left there. And that's how this idea started. And you can say it sounds corny or whatever, but man, if God gives me a word or he tells somebody, I take it to heart, man. Yeah. I really do. And if you don't, then you got a problem, okay? there's something that needs a little fixing, and that's okay. But I took it to heart, man. And I think that, like, this is just a representation of me being myself.
Yeah.
And I don't want anybody to buy into my journey or listen to my music because, it's a version of me that's not me. I want them I want them to be themselves.
Yeah.
So what better way to represent that and inspire them to do that than me being myself?
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it. I love you. I love your music. I love who you are, the country soul preacher. I didn't know that. And literally until I started researching for this interview or this podcast. But no, I've loved getting to know you these past 6-7 months and getting to hang out with you some. And so
likewise, man.
Yeah. No.
And if I can say, if I know we're landing the plane.
Are we? Sorry, I'm a chatterbox, y'all.
No, it's not
you. Trust me, because we'll go on for another hour. But no, the thing that this is my first time really getting to talk to you. I mean, just in all honesty, that some of the things that you said that I love, that I what's the word I'm looking for? I recognize, or I get, or I relate to.
Yeah.
I mean, you said, man, and it's so key, and I wish people would really pick up on it, is that you love God and you serve God with all your heart, but you have fun singing country music too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
Both and.
It's both and because when I was at, full time on the road for however many years, a lot of years, whether it was rock, whether it was country, whether it was pop, people are like, well, who didn't know, they would ask me the question. They would say, John, well, who's your favorite people to drive for? Who's your favorite people to be with? Is it the gospel field? I said, no, not at all. I said, I'd much rather be with the country and rock folk because at least they are who they are. They live who they are out loud.
Yeah.
But to see somebody is so encouraging to me who still can be in the secular world living who they are out loud, but for God too. is just so encouraging and so awesome.
And that's why I didn't become a Christian artist. To tell you the full truth, when I had a Christian record deal at these award shows and all these things, I saw a glimpse at who these people really are. Some of your favorite artists that you listen to, who I will not name.
Ding, 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 ding. I can confirm.
And you saw it. I'm sure all of you have seen it. You've all seen it. Okay? At least under the country label, under the country title, I can be myself.
Right.
And serving God's still okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just wanted to add that.
Which is crazy, isn't it?
It is. It shouldn't be that way.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. It really shouldn't be that way.
In all my years doing on my part of things, there was only 2 Christian artists who I actually ended up respecting and loving because they lived what they believed. 2 out of the many that I worked for.
Yeah, I believe it.
And it's a sad state. It's a sad state. Many of them would come through, didn't even care if I was a believer, if I wasn't a believer. They didn't care. They didn't even ask if I was a Christian. They didn't care. They didn't take the time to care and treated me like crap on top of it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But being able to see, to hear your story is so encouraging. And it's encouraging for a lot of reasons because you're living in the world, but not being of the world.
Yeah.
You're being the light in the dark place.
Yeah.
You are being able to reach people that other people would never be able to reach in a 3-piece suit or and cool stuff. They'll never be able to touch them.
Yeah.
Because they see it coming from a mile away, and then unfortunately the persona of the church, they don't want any part of it.
Absolutely.
But yet then they see a young man coming in here who's got chops, who can sing, and man, what's different? The seed.
Yeah.
The seed that's being planted as your screen. God, listen, I'm not
that's a whole sermon.
Over that.
No, that's a whole sermon.
That just kudos, brother.
I mean,
appreciate seriously,
you.
man.
That's
seriously,
so
encouraging.
That means more than anything that you could say, to say that you see it and that you hear it. That lets me know I'm doing my job.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
So Grant, tell everybody where they can find you online, find your music. And
yep. All my socials are at Officially Bias, and that's on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. It's Grant Bias. And yeah, I mean, anywhere else you can find my music, Spotify, Apple Music, I go by Bias, but my songwriter name is Grant Bias. So they told me that wouldn't be okay if I just used my last name. So
do you have any shows coming up you want to throw out there?
I do. I have a show at the Troubadour on next Tuesday, and then I've got a show in Cleveland, Tennessee next Friday, and then a show in Calhoun, Georgia on the 27th. So month of June is pretty stacked. I'd love to see you guys out there, man.
Love it. Awesome.
That's
well, Grant,
awesome.
Thank you for being on with us and sharing your story. And
can't thank y'all enough for having me. I really appreciate it. Great conversation.
It's good times. It's good times.
I'm changed.
Yeah.
Well,
listen, I'm sitting here trying to keep it together. I'm a wreck, dude. And listen, man, in the best of ways. It's just, it's so good to see. Thank you.
I heard your word, and before we get off of her, I heard your word, man, that you gave. I don't remember when it was at Restoring Hope, but dude, I was changed after I heard that word, man. And I'm serious. All of you guys, dude, like, I just appreciate y'all being willing to pour into my life. And I'm just glad that I could have a little sliver of your time to be able to share my story.
Heck yeah, man.
It
means a lot.
Good stuff. Man.
Good times. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for listening like you always do and sticking through to the end. Yeah.
You know what?
You, man, this is good.
We didn't get it in, though.
No heart posture?
I appreciate Grant's heart posture.
Yeah.
But you know what?
We always talk about heart posture. That's our thing.
I love it.
It's got to get in
posture.
here somewhere.
I love it.
Yeah.
But yet the heart posture has really been talked about the entire time.
Oh, it's been talked about the whole time.
You know
just in case anybody missed it. We
in case you were wondering, heart posture is in the middle of all of it.
Heart posture.
Oh, no, I see. I already went to the wrong.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh,
it's over.
Gee.
It's over.
So
Couldn't take the pressure. See what squeezed out was rotten.
So
You're welcome.
So, Crystal makes fun of us saying heart posture, and she started using it all the time now, and she'll catch herself. She's like, it really comes down to heart I'm like,
Gotcha.
Hard posture, isn't it?
yeah. So about that. All right, guys. Thanks again for listening to Two
Baptists
Baptists
And a Mormon.
Walk into a Pentecostal Church.